Hello, everybody. Welcome to Birddogs, Bourbon, and the Good Life. This is episode 9, and we're here today with Frank Sell. He is an entrepreneur of a couple different businesses and a motivational speaker. So he's got several activities that he does. Frank, how are you doing this evening?
Man, I'm fantastic.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, like you said, I'm Frank Sell. I've been self-employed. This is my 20th year, so I've been kind of in that entrepreneur mindset for a while now, and it was all kind of that what they call the epiphany of bridge, and when I realized that what I was doing wasn't going to get me where I wanted to go in life, so I took action and started making some stuff happen.
Yeah. We're going to get into that quite a bit more in depth here in a minute. But Frank, I've known Frank for a very long time. Long time.
Yeah, at least 3 decades.
Yes, at least. Minimum at 3 decades. That's scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's scary. So Frank's always been a very, very good guy, very soft-spoken individual, but very driven. I think, personally, every entrepreneur has a lot they can learn from Frank. If you've been an entrepreneur your entire life to being an entrepreneur for the last 6 months or 2 months or whatever, I think Frank's got a lot that people can learn from him. We're going to talk a little bit about that today, but the name of the podcast is Birddogs, Bourbon, and the Good Life. And the bourbon that Frank and I tried today, Frank had a sip of the bourbon, is Rick House. It is a cask strength, 103 proof. This bourbon is finished with oak barrel shards, and it is quite good. The one thing I will tell you is, so here it is, Rick House. For me and for my wife, when we tried it, obviously it's 103 proof. I've got it in ice because it's pretty hot. When we tried it, just right after we put it on ice before it watered down, and we had a sip or two of it, it kind of gave us a little bit of a smoked bacon flavor at the end, at the very, very end of the taste. And I asked Frank what he thought of it, and Frank's answer was, what was that, Frank?
Tastes like alcohol.
It tastes like alcohol. So each of us are a little bit different. I would strongly recommend Rick House bourbon. It's a pretty good bourbon. It is a $50+ bottle, so it is on the what I would consider the medium range of bourbons. So obviously you can get your real high-end bourbons and you can get your real low-end bourbons. For the podcast, we try to get some mid-range bourbons. And again, if anybody out there wants us to try a bourbon specifically, let us know. We'll see what we can do to get it. So I'm going to move on to Frank and talk a little bit. The first thing I'm going to talk about Frank is he has a coffee brand right here. The coffee brand is Get Shit Done. Make America Grind Again. Essential Nitro Coffee. Sweet corn latte with coconut milk. Frank, could you tell us how you got into this and what really drove you? Oh, here's a phrase I'm going to ask Frank about here in a little bit. But tell us a little bit about how you got into the coffee business, should I say?
Yeah. So I've been asked that a few times here lately. So people, ask me. The question is how I chose coffee business or coffee brand, and really the story is more or less I didn't choose it; it chose me. So I've been self-employed since 2003, and especially in the last 10 years. I'm 47, and I realized through different relationships and tribulations, I never really was able to build a portfolio or build a positive cash flow kind of things. I've been pretty successful with my main venture. But at the end of the day, the only time I make money is when I show up to work. And so I thought, well, the next best thing to do is to start an online business. So we were talking about before the podcast that our main brand, or our home base is Home of the Hustle. And that started as a Facebook page where some guys like you and I and Carson, we just got together and started 5 nights a week. We decided to do live interviews with people that built online brands or marketing or sales and different things. So I kind of did a few things. It helped, obviously it helped educate us. It helped build relationships with people that knew how to get shit done. But then also it kind of elevated us in the social media status arena, whatever that means. But along the way, the first brand that I launched was a brand around beards. I had never grown a beard per se, and about that time was all the skinny pants guys with flannel shirts were growing their beards. We see all the ads on Facebook.
Yeah.
So I told my partner at the time that I wanted to go buy some beard oil, and she said, no, I'll just make it for you. I'd rather know what's in it. So the first time I used it, I slept really good. And I asked what happened, and she said, well, it was essential oils. So I kind of looked at the marketplace, and there's so many ways you can have the same product more or less, but it's just the marketing spin on it. So I noticed that nobody was marketing to the therapeutic effect of the essential oils that are in beard oil. So what happened was it was the essential oils in the beard oil helped me sleep. And I said, well, nobody's marketing, so let's start Baby Beard Club. I had already bought the domain probably 6 months prior to that because I had gotten into purchasing domains through GoDaddy. I'd have an idea. I would go to GoDaddy, see if the domain was available, and I would just buy it. It was a couple of dollars, $5 for a domain. So then it made it easy to reach out to some people that had been on our show, say, hey, I had this idea. And so I asked around to certain people that had already had results in e-commerce or selling stuff online. Everybody I told about this idea, they all thought it was a great idea. So we had some, I know people that are way more talented than I am in certain areas. I know what my zone of genius is, and it's coming up with some of the witty stuff and so on. So I had some designers make the labels and do the graphic stuff on the website. So one of the beard oils was called Get Shit Done, and it was a beard oil that would had oils that were formulated to help you focus and concentrate. And through, as I say all the time on social media, show up, find friends, want to do cool shit, and get shit done. So there was an event called Million Cups that happens every Wednesday in Wichita, Kansas, and it happens all across the country, in Dallas and Kansas City. But it's kind of like an entrepreneur networking event. And so I had started attending these things, and I happened to meet some guys that have a coffee contract canning company in Wichita called BevHub, and their public-facing brand is called Nitro Joe's. So I like coffee, so I started buying coffee beans from them just for my personal use, and they bought some beard oil from me. And just because our mindsets we just aligned, we really resonated with each other. And so I'm buying coffee beans from them. I'm grinding them up at home just for myself, and there's no coffee business yet. And I had some Get Shit Done stickers, like little 2 or 3 inch stickers made to give away with orders of the beard oil. I ordered stickers, and about the same time I ordered coffee beans from my friends, and they show up and they're sitting on my desk on the same day. I thought, man, it'd be pretty funny, so I put a Get Shit Done sticker on a bag of coffee, and I put it on Facebook. And since how my entire social media network kind of knew me as the hustler or the entrepreneur mindset, everybody's like, is that really Get Shit Done coffee? How do I buy that? I was like, hold on a minute. I literally took that picture and put it on my Baby Beard Club website and started selling Get Shit Done coffee. And I called my friends, said, hey, everybody wants to buy this. Is Get Shit Done. How do we do this? And they're like, hey, it's no problem, man. We'll just tell us how much coffee you want. And so that's how we got into the coffee business.
That's pretty awesome. And the one thing that I've noticed is you're really good at branding and really getting that catchphrase out there. The Make America Grind Again was well timed.
Right.
And I've handed this out to a lot of different people, and they really like it. So there's two phrases on here. I'm going to read the one that's pretty impactful, and then I'm going to ask you about that one. Then I'm going to get to the one that I think is the most important phrase I've heard literally in decades. So the first one, I chuckle because I've heard you say this so many times. Beat the streets so damn hard, they send you a bill for the potholes. So how did you come up with that?
It was on a podcast or an interview similar to this. Somebody asked me how I got started in business. My very first business, I started in what's called PDR, paintless dent repair, fixing hail damage on cars. So I started out, my professional career in life as a welder, and I started that job when I was 18 years old. They had a 30-year retirement program, and so I was looking forward to retiring at 48 with my full pension benefits, all that stuff. The dream that we were sold, as kids.
Oh yeah,
back in the 1900s.
That doesn't exist anymore. Yes,
right. So somewhere along the line, the company sold. They sold out, and so typically when that happens, they want to show profit and kind of trim the fat. So the first thing they did was they changed the retirement package and all these different things, and they changed it to where you had to work to at least 55. So that was 37 years that I would have had to work out there. And it's at that moment that it kind of dawned on me that I wasn't in control of my destiny in that area of my life.
Yeah.
So then I literally, the voice in my head talking to myself says, Frank, you either basically you either have to shit or get off the pot. You got to do something about it.
Yep.
Or just quit bitching about it and accept whatever they'll give you for the next 30 years. And hopefully they don't change it when you're 54. So what I did is I looked around me, and I knew some guys that were already doing paintless dent repair, fixing hail damage. And I looked at the skill side of it, the technical side, the trade side, that it was simply working with your hands and fixing the dents. It's a hands-on career. And I thought, man, my hands are really smart, and I'm not afraid of hard work. So I asked some people about training, and they said, no, we can't really train you, because back then it was still kind of a secretive industry somewhat. So I literally bought a $100 VHS tape and had some used tools, and I taught myself how to do the trade. And come March of 2003, I thought that I had done enough and practiced enough, trained enough on my own that I could sell my skill set. So I volunteered for a layoff, and then somebody asked me how I did it, and I was like, I don't know, man. I just beat the damn street so hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just naturally rolled out of my mouth because I knew back then. I literally I would open the yellow pages, and I would look for body shops or car dealerships, the places that would need my service that I could go see, and I would just drive out and see them. So my mind's like, well, I beat the streets, man. I run the streets, and I'm sure there's gonna be some potholes somewhere, and I'll get a bill for it. So that's where that came from.
And that's pretty. Honestly, that's a pretty inspiring way, because any entrepreneur, if we're not busting the hump, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Perfect example is, we get off work, we head straight here, we cook you a meal, we sit down and do the podcast. With all the other things we do, we're just constantly trying to push forward. And the podcast is a way for us to promote our businesses and everything else. So since I said about the food, what'd you think about that?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, those ribs, that stuff just melted off the bone.
Oh, yeah. So do you like the seasoning on there?
Yeah, I love it. It's got just a little kick to it. It kind of had almost like a maple, like a syrup.
Fruity, mapley finish to it. So that's Jessica's hands down rub.
Okay.
That's the rub my wife made for completely by herself, and there's a pretty cool story behind that. on how she was little. So we made our first rub together. It was sweet and spicy, and as husbands and wives have a tendency not to always 100% agree with what goes into it. We ended up making a really good rub, but she felt there was some things that we should have put in it that I didn't want to put in it. And there was things that she thought would make it better. So she made that rub 100%, no feedback from me at all. Yeah. She made that rub. And that rub has turned out to be our best seller to date, is Jessica's Hands Down Rub.
Leave it to the ladies.
Yeah, amen. So with all that being said, this phrase rolls right into that past conversation we had. Do it scared until you can do it skilled. So that there's a lot of, like, this silly podcast. I am not a technical guy at all. Computers, I still haven't figured out how to convert MP4 into MP3. But thank goodness for our guy, Carson Prismus over here. He's really pulled us into being able to do the podcast. But doing it scared until you do it skilled, I've heard you say that. And there's a lot of times I have to live by that, where I'm sitting back going, I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's got to be done.
Right.
So did that come when you were doing learning how to do the hell dent, or did that come when you started to get into coffee that you knew nothing about?
I can't remember, who asked me what to spark that quote. But somewhere along the line, it was kind of like that same line of questioning. Somebody asked me, how I did it, or whatever, or maybe somebody. I think I was trying to give advice to somebody, because like they mentioned that they were scared, and so I'm reflecting on all the different things I've done. Like, I've raced dirt bikes, for forever, and different things, and that's my simple mindset. It was like, well, shit, just do it scared until you can do it skilled. You go out and you either learn a whole bunch of ways not to do it, or you figure out a few ways that work really well along the way.
It's kind of like riding a bike. You're going to fall down and scuff up until you learn how to get your balance and pedal and move forward and be able to strive through that. So with the coffee business, I know you have, and this sweet cream latte is really good. I mean, it's really good. I've given it to probably 20 people, and they all love it. So what other products? I know you have more products, and can you tell us about the products that you have? And and most, after we talk about the products for the coffee business, can you tell people how they can find it?
Yeah, for sure. So there again, it goes back to like the entrepreneurship and leadership. Like, a lot of times you have to really know what you're good at, and get out of that mindset of trying to do everything yourself. So I really partner with people, or I find people that is their zone of genius is making the coffee. Like the canned coffee, I don't make it. The people in the story earlier, they make it. They make their contract canning company. They make millions of cans of coffee for some very well names that you would know. And so they make it for me. And then the same thing, I went to one of those Million Cup networking events. I had quit going for 3 or 4 years. I show up, find friends, want to do cool shit and get shit done. So I showed up to one maybe 6-8 months ago, after not going for 3 or 4 years. And I walk in the door, and for those of you that are listening to this on a podcast, not watching it, like I'm kind of fairly recognizable. I got like a foot-long red beard, and I'm about 6 feet tall, so it's
not as red as it used to be, brother.
Yeah, right. Salt and pepper. So like I kind of stick out, and so one of the ladies there, she sees me walk in, and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm glad you're here, Frank." So this this Million Cups deal, like they generally have two entrepreneurs or business owners, and they ask them in less than 5 minutes just to tell your business story. So she had followed me through social media, Facebook and Instagram, and our stories and so on, and she knew that I had transitioned, kind of pivoted into the coffee business from the beard oil business. And so she comes up to me, she's like, somebody, we were going to have two people, somebody said they couldn't make it, they thought it was a Zoom deal, not an in-person deal. Would you want to tell your story? And this was like, in 10 minutes, do you want to do this? I'm like, yeah, do it skilled.
Yeah.
Do it skilled. So I just hop up there and in 5 minutes tell the story. And lo and behold, one of the people in the audience is a local coffee shop owner. You might know Reverie Roasters over in Wichita. So Andy, the guy that owns that, he was in the audience, and he was curious about the nitro brew because he was wanting to do some nitro brew. And then we later, through emails and text messages, we got together, and both of us realized that we were on the path to start doing the K-Cups, or this Keurig single-serve coffees. And so we realized that we could, kind of leverage our quantities and so on. So, some of those deals, like you have to buy tens of thousands of boxes or K-Cups, empty cups or lids kind of things. So we kind of leveraged our buying power. And so it was probably about 6 months ago, we started what we call the Extra Mile Espresso. It's an espresso roast of coffee. So another quote that I say often, the only problem with the extra mile is the thinking that it's extra, meaning that if you have it to give it all, lay it all on the field. People that say they're going the extra mile, it's kind of an ego trip, saying, oh, well, I'll give them just enough, and then I'll give them just a little more to get my pat on my back, or just give it all, just lay it on the field. And so we have that in a single serve Keurig style cup, and then we also have the whole bean and ground coffee on the website. So on the coffee side of things, that's kind of our product lineup right now. Is we have swag hats and hoodies and shirts and stuff like that too.
So when we talk about the merchandise, I'm just going to jump right into what I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. You've got racing gloves.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got racing gloves. And so with that being said, one of the big things that you do to relax, I think, I'm going to say it's relax, is you are the name of it slipped my mind. Tell me what I'm...
Motocross?
Motocross.
Yeah.
You are a motocross racer.
Yeah.
So, and it seems like you're not too bad.
I can hold my own, yeah.
And so you've got I've seen your big tent up where you sell Get Shit Done at the motocross races, and you race yourself, and you've got a line of motocross, I'm going to say gear, that has Get Shit Done on it.
Yeah.
Your logo.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
It's just one of those deals where, a lot of us, we get ideas, the what if ideas, and then we stop there. So, like on social media, like the common mindset on social media is that it's a suck hole, it's a waste of energy, all these different things. But if you're intentional on your circle and like who you follow or who you network with, you can really, it's a great tool that you can use. And so through Instagram, I saw a pretty cool brand called Crushed MX. They post a lot of funny, videos and memes and different things. So, one of the things that I'm really adamant about is like we've all got those DMs. Hey, how you doing? You want to check out my deal? You have to build a relationship first, and then do an ask. So always just start conversations with folks. And so I saw they had gloves, and I just simply asked them. I said, hey, what would it take to do our own personal brand of glove with this this design. So they had the base design. It's an American flag design on the glove. I said, is it possible to do this? And, you know, she came back, well, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's no problem. You know, and so, okay, well, you know, so once you kind of start learning the tempo and lingo, and Steve, you know, it's like the minimums and the costs,
Oh, yeah.
and, you know, design fees and shipping, all this different stuff. So I said, well, what's it take? You know, I kind of leave it pretty open-ended question because I don't want to box it in with an expectation. I want them to kind of lay it out to me, and then I can, you know, ask my next best question. So she's like, yeah, you know, it's 50 pair minimum. Okay, awesome. So what's it take? And she's like, well, there's, you know, such and such for design fee, such and such for this. And it's like, fair enough. I got that money laying around. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
So, you know, we just, you know, we just asked the questions, and then, you know, next, it was probably 6 months later, we had 50 pair of gloves that on one side had the American flag theme with our logo on the back side of the hand, and then inside the palm it had our logo also. And I think it only took 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks to sell them all.
That's really good turnaround.
Yeah.
That's really good turnaround. So obviously you're getting more.
Yeah.
So if people want to check this out, they can go to your website, right?
Yeah. Those
And get the gloves.
At that time, they were just in person, or like just DM me and Venmo the money to me because I didn't want to go through the time. They started selling so fast. I knew we would sell through them pretty quick that I didn't really want to take the time, put them on the website, and put all the pictures and put all the sizes and everything. It was more from a branding aspect than it was a sales. We made a profit on them, but I didn't care if we made a profit. It was just more about branding because people would buy them and then they would post them on social media, or they'd take pictures with them.
And then you've got your brand out there.
Yeah.
And and when people see that,
Right.
they can go in and Google just the way you have this, just for the people that don't have the video. So I'm going to spell to you how Frank has spelled get shit done. Mm-hmm. So it is get, G-E-T, shit, S-H, exclamation point, T, done, D-O-N-E. So it isn't just standard. So if someone wanted to go in and just Google it exactly the way it's spelled, with the shit, S-H, exclamation point, T, on the get shit done, you're going to find his website. Most likely. You'll find something about his product somewhere.
Yeah, so you just have to do, just get shit done coffee will generally pull it up on the first page.
Okay.
So like the exclamation point, you can't use exclamation, you can't use.
Oh, you can't use that on the search?
Right. Or you can use it on search, but you can't use it in a domain name.
Oh.
So on this coffee here, it doesn't say it. So this, on the new cans, it says getshitdonecoffee.co.
Oh.
On there. So anywhere, if you go to getshitdonecoffee.co, like www.getshitdonecoffee.co, that will take you back to Home of the Hustle. Go to getshitdonecoffee.com, that'll take you back to Home of the Hustle. And so on the internet, I'm casting this web of backlinks and all these different search terms and so on. And so it all finds its way back to home base, which is Home of the Hustle.
That's perfect. That's a perfect way to work it, so that you have this big, basically, web of contact sources that drive back to one source.
Yeah.
So do you think at some point in time you're going to sell the racing gloves on your website?
Yeah, I have another 100 pair ordered, and so we'll see how those go.
Okay.
So a lot of sales, like I said, come through social media, through Instagram and so on. But you know, the selling the gloves isn't our main focus, but they'll be on there somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I just know I saw them and I thought they were really cool. I don't ride motocross at all. I'm afraid my fat body would break. But at the same time, I thought it was really cool, and I wanted to share that you guys do that. So one of the things I'll ask is, what all cities have you gone and raced motocross in? in the last. I know I tried to set this podcast up with you about a month and a half ago, and you guys were right in the middle of, I'm going to say, racing season.
Yeah.
So where all did you guys go?
Yeah, so it's been about 9 weeks straight now, every weekend. So we have a series here in Kansas, and so we have a track in Mays, which is about 20 minutes from our house, kind of northwest of Wichita, north side of Wichita, Kansas. Then we have Great Bend, Inman, and then the track in Park City, Jeeps, motocross. And then we been going over the winter. I've been going down to Oklahoma because, like Oklahoma City, there's more people in the metro of Oklahoma City than the whole state of Kansas. So
Really?
yeah, there's a couple million people in Oklahoma City metro at least.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's wow.
Yeah. So, I look at the big picture. If we have momentum and we're doing as well as we are with the town we live in, I think it's 40 or 45,000 here, and and we're growing pretty organically through that. That how much better would it be in a bigger city like that? So we started going down there and racing and attending stuff down there. So there's a track in Norman. Last weekend we were in Wellston, Oklahoma. I think a couple weeks before that we were in Okmulgee. Last weekend, last weekend, where the heck were we? Last weekend I was in Wellston. The weekend before that I was in Great Bend, Kansas. There's a track out there. So we try to, just because it really resonates with the people that race motocross, from everything from get shit done to make America grind again, to do it scary, to do it skilled. People just see it and they're just like, yeah, I love all that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that is something I've got to give you is when it comes to branding, you've done an extremely good job.
Yeah, thank you. I no idea. Kind of the way I look at it is it's from a marketing aspect.
Yep.
They say if you can find 1,000 people that will consistently buy your product or whatever you're doing, then you can make a pretty nice living. And it's like, well, hell, there's got to be 1,000 people out there that at least like the way that I like to put stuff or say stuff or make it look. So
you know what? That is there's I've been given a lot of grief here in the last. So we've done 9 episodes. So in the last 2.5 months for starting a podcast.
Yeah.
And they're like, why are you starting a podcast? I was like, it's strictly a numbers game.
Yeah. Yep.
It's 100% a numbers game. So I'm going to use a real popular podcaster that just for numbers purposes. So like Joe Rogan, he's got 12 million followers on his podcast, right? So I don't expect to reach 12 million followers, but let's say I reach 200 to 500,000 followers, and then you've got, and those are the people that follow you. And then you've got another 30 to 50% that don't follow you, but listen. So if you can get 2 to 10% of those people that purchase the products that you advertise through your podcast, you're doing pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Not counting the monetization off podcasts once you get big enough.
Right. Yeah, that and I've been studying marketing and the mindset around it stuff for a while, and it's like we get focused on the products and so on, but it's like the product ain't the product. The product is a commodity to get a customer.
Yes.
And then we started with the Get Shit Done bagged coffee. So then, I already had customers acquired. When then the customers, I start building the hype around the canned coffee, and so then I had the same customers that just bought my next product, and so came out with the K cups. Well, the people that were already customers or clients, they wanted to buy our next
K
thing.
cups and the.
So in the big picture, in a marketing sense, it's in a e-commerce or selling shit online. It's about acquiring that customer, taking care of that customer, giving the customer a good product, giving them something to believe in, stand behind also. And so just, they already have a budget or stuff they're already buying that we're going to sell anyway, so they'd probably rather buy it from us than from somebody that they don't know.
Amen. 100%. And you also sell hats.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And you have hats with your logo on them.
Uh-huh.
And you've got a whole variety of colors.
Yep.
On hats. Are they on the website?
They are on the website, and they're made locally, so they're all embroidered by a friend of mine at I don't know if you know the Fosters, Chris Foster and Justine Foster at F6 Ranchwear over in Bueller.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Matter of fact, I think I'm not going to say that. We had some hats embroidered for Pheasants Forever.
Uh-huh.
I had someone else taking care of that. It was done here locally.
Mm-hmm.
But because I didn't take care of it, I can't 100% remember where it was done.
Mm-hmm.
But it was done here locally in Hutchinson, Bueller area.
Yeah. So I could get it done cheaper, but
But why?
Right. Part of it's working with somebody I know. They're same thing, just kind of starting out in small business, and on top of that, like their service is bar none. And quality, I can't tell you how many times I've had people come up to me, pick up one of our hats, and like, dude, who makes these? This is astonishing, just how nice the stitching is on them.
The amazing thing about your hats is I haven't put hands on it,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm a pretty picky person.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they've embroidered your hats, it almost, if I remember right, the Get Shit Done's almost like 3D on the hat.
Uh-huh.
And it stands up off the hat.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of this junk you see from China, you'll see a fray here, a fray there, and you can see it in the picture, right?
Uh-huh.
And your hats are just immaculate.
Yeah.
They're almost a work of art, how good and detailed the stitching is in those. So do me a favor,
Mm-hmm.
give a shout out again and tell
Yeah.
people how to reach out to the embroidery company
Uh-huh.
in case they want some done, and remind them how they can get the hats.
Yeah, so that's F6 Ranchwear on social media, and I'll take you back to their website, or just how to get a hold of them.
Yeah. And so we can find the hats on your website.
Yes.
Home of the Hustle, if anything. If you remember anything, I think you can type in Home of the Hustle and it'll get you there.
Yeah, Home of the Hustle. Yep.
Or getshit.co.
Yeah, Get Shit Done Coffee.
Getshitdonecoffee.co.
Uh-huh.
That'll get you there. So one of the things we talked a little bit about before the podcast. This podcast is about outdoors and hunting and fishing
Mm-hmm.
and all kinds of things like that. And really, the last phrase of our podcast is "in the good life."
Mm-hmm.
The good life.
Yeah.
And what makes life good. And one of the things that really is important to me is to be able to laugh.
Right.
I just love to be able to have someone tell me a story that's going to make me laugh.
Uh-huh.
So this is your opportunity to make me laugh.
Well, I think we were talking about just before we started on the podcast, like Steve said, we've we went to high school together, and we're coming up on 30 years of graduation. But we have a friend of ours that's passed now, but we my fiance and I, we were driving out west of town here, and I was like, oh yeah, by the way, this little tree row over here, my buddy Steven and I and Brian, we one night we hid in the grass, and we launched water balloons with a water balloon slingshot at cars. And the funniest damn thing was, after our charades, I mean, we launched like laundry baskets full of water balloons.
Oh yeah.
We had a good time, and go out there. I don't know if it was that night or the next day, and did not even realize whatsoever the mess that we had made. There were balloons all over the highway on the side of the road. It's just no wonder when you get arrested or get something.
Oh yeah. that, one of the biggest things that I like to remind people of, and there's going to be people that hear this podcast and think we should have been thrown in jail.
We should have.
We should have had the book thrown at us, blah blah blah. And yeah, could we have caused some pretty serious accidents? Yes, we could have.
Oh yeah.
But there used to be a time when it was understood kids would be kids.
Mm-hmm.
And the discipline was really left up to the parents, right?
Yeah.
And when you got busted by the cops, they would scare you.
Yeah.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Real good.
Yeah.
But there was no drag you to court. There was no ruin the kid's life,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Because they made one stupid mistake, right? I remember numerous times when I was a kid that it was an adult, not my parent, that threatened to beat me within an inch of my life because I did something that I really shouldn't have done. I knew I shouldn't have done it. They knew I shouldn't have done it. But the parent really wasn't going to beat me within an inch of my life.
Right.
They were just scaring me.
Right.
And so with the exact same friend, we had bought some beer, and we had to be just barely over 16. We had bought some beer through, I can't tell you where, but we had gotten some beer and we were driving home. And stupid kids that
Right.
we were. We weren't drinking any of it yet. We were going to take it home and we were going to drink it, right? And so we pull over a mile from my house.
Yeah.
And we think, oh, we can't hold our pee any longer. We have to pee here.
Right.
So we pee, and a cop sees us, swings in, busts us,
Gotcha.
right? Says, hey, what do you got in the trunk? And blah, blah, blah. Gets our beer, tells us, we've got your address, we've got your phone number, we've got everything about you. We're going to call your parents tonight and tell them what you did. Go home and tell your parents what you did.
Right.
Scared to death. We go home and tell our parents. They never called. They took our beer and went and drank it.
Right.
So that's just, and that's kind of what I mean. In today's society, I'm afraid that two kids that aren't intoxicated, yes, they had alcohol that they shouldn't have. Yes, they need discipline for not having it. I'm not saying any of that isn't real. What I'm saying is put the fear of God in the kid.
Right.
Don't ruin their lives by dragging them to court and making it so that the kids can't. It makes it even more difficult for those kids to be successful later in life.
Right.
So.
Yeah, there's just not enough, tribes out there, people sticking together and looking out for each other, and they'd rather watch somebody fall than try to lift somebody up.
Yes, and that's one of the biggest challenges that we face as a country, in my opinion, is we want to, instead of, like you phrased it best, and I'm just going to tweak on it a little bit, instead of wanting to reach down and pick somebody up and say, you made a mistake, let's learn from this, let's get better, let's move forward, they want to point the finger and criticize and label and demean instead of grow a person from that. So you touched a little bit about you used to weld.
Yeah.
You went to school for welding or something, and you ended up being a welder. And then your company chose to get sold. They sold, and they changed stuff. So I'd just like you to dive. I know you scraped on it a little bit, but I'd like you to dive in just a little bit more, if you could, on that, and really honestly. So you were probably one of the, and you have been your whole life, one of the most level-head, calm. When you speak, there's very little concern in your voice when you speak. Fear,
Yeah.
or inflection, or you have inflection. That's not what I mean. But what I mean is, I think this do it scared until you do it skilled had to be playing a factor when you made the decision to walk away from what we
Yeah.
were taught
Yeah.
our entire lives,
Yeah. The safety net.
the safety net,
Yeah.
what we were taught our entire lives
Uh huh.
to do,
Uh huh.
you walked away from.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about really the challenge with that, and how hard it actually was to walk away.
Yeah. This is my friends. Everybody calls them Frankisms. So this is another Frankism that I live by, and it's like it's to my own detriment a lot of times, and the people around me. But you make a decision, and then you make it right. Meaning that at the time we make a decision with our best information and our best skill sets, even though that may not be the best decision, or what most people would say it was the wrong decision. So you can't undo a bad decision, but you can outwork it. And so that's what I knew, that I'd already worked my ass off for somebody else, and they changed the deal on me, so I wasn't going to let myself down. And really, it was just that fortitude that, I'm not going to let myself down. I'll just keep working until it's right. And here we are, still working away.
So the gist of it is, you made a decision
Uh-huh.
to walk away from what our generation was told, what you basically had to do.
Yeah, 20 years ago now. So it was 2003. I was 27 years old. I was making between $20 and $21 an hour. Had 4 weeks paid vacation. Had the 401k. Had health insurance. All that stuff. And I don't give a shit. I always have the skills. I have the skill set of being a welder. I can always get employed. Why not take this? Take this chance now, and go for it. That was my mindset.
Yeah. And so with that being said, I'm going to jump back to where I was saying that our generation was told, you do the 9 to 5, right? Now, and I use the phrase 9 to 5 loosely, very loosely.
Go to school, get good grades, get an education, or get a trade.
Yes, that's it. That was beat into our heads from the time we were young, growing up, and as we find out that isn't necessarily for everybody.
No.
So I'm a as well as anybody, I'm a pretty hard-headed guy. I
Just a little.
Yeah, a little. I get my mindset, and the best way I heard this is I had a really good friend today, and he was a boss of mine, and I ran his construction crews when I was 20. I was 20 years old, and I was running 2 construction crews, and he would get so frustrated with me. He'd show up and he'd go, "Steven, there's the right way, the wrong way, and Steven's way. It's not wrong, but it's not how I wanted you to do it."
Right.
But it's done.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm pretty thick-headed, strong-willed,
Right.
and I push forward with everything I have. And so, but it for people that don't realize it, it's really hard for our generation to walk away from that safety net.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard. I know people that are a little older than me that they ask me regularly. They're like, "How do you do all the things you can do?" I was like, "Because I don't care what people think."
Right. That's a big one.
Because if I cared what everybody thought I should do, they would be like, I would never get anything done. I've got friends that think I should own a brand new car off the lot. And if you look at what I got, I look like a used car lot.
Right.
But at the same time, instead of having that payment, I have money in my pocket.
Right. You got cash money to invest in yourself.
Yes. And so unfortunately, the other problem with our generation, in my opinion, is a lot of people are too materialistic.
Yeah, I agree.
They're more worried about what I have that I can, or the old phrase, keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
So people like you and I, we can't worry about that. We can't worry about if in your case, if another coffee company's outselling me.
They already are anyway.
Yeah. You're like, well, they're an inspiration to me.
Yeah.
They're not a burden to me. They're an inspiration to me because if they can do it, I can do it.
Exactly. They're an example of what can be done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just like our barbecue business, we strive daily. We have a brand new rub coming out here in I just got confirmation on. They have everything lined out at the bottler. And our rubs we develop 100% ourselves. And our bottler is supposed to be sending us a quote in the next couple days. But where you were talking about minimums, because of the situation our country's in,
Yeah.
our minimums doubled.
Yeah.
So our costs doubled,
Right.
if not tripled,
Yeah.
to get our rubs.
Well, see, and that's something that I've had a similar situation with our coffee and stuff. But to me, that's also God saying, "Look, it's time to quit dicking around and go for it."
Oh yeah,
Because
amen.
You've dilly-dallied long enough. You've done enough just to kind of get by. So here's a little bit of pressure, son. Go sell something.
Yeah,
go think bigger.
Get off your butt and get it done.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big things that, like our guide business as well, CQ Game Birds, we guide. Last year, we did well. And I looked at my wife and I was like, we have one of two options: shit or get off the pot.
Yeah.
We're just big enough that we're going to outuse the facilities that we've been leasing, basically. We're going to outuse those, and we're going to have more clients than available dates open.
Right.
Or we're going to have to build our own lodge.
Right.
So we're in the process building a business plan, getting out, buying ground, building a lodge, and we're going to CQ Game Birds and Rub Me Down Barbecue is going to merge into under one umbrella company like Home of the Hustle. And we're going to expand our businesses. So what you're saying is, it really is God saying, figure it out.
Yeah.
You're either going to figure it out or you're not going to make it.
Yeah. There's a book that I read here a couple years ago, but a lot of front row Christians want to say like money is the root of all evil. But if they read their Bible, they'd say money is the root of all kinds of evil and all these different things. But at the end of the day, this book, Dollars Want Me, a phrase in it that I really like is that God is my supply and my supply is abundant.
Yes.
Everything's already created except the version of me that is needed to live the life of freedom the way I want and in the way that I want, whatever fashion that is.
Amen. I'm glad you brought that up, because now you're going to give me the opportunity to promo one of our upcoming podcasts.
Okay.
So we have a very good friend of mine and pastor of a church coming in. So one of the biggest things I struggle with, okay, as an entrepreneur and a believer in God and a Christian, is where does greed take over? Right? Where do you've got to be a little concerned about greed, right? Because that's something that is real, right?
Yeah.
Greed is real compared to just being profitable, right?
Right.
And so he's really excited about getting on the podcast, and I think it's going to be a multiple series type deal, but he's going to be on the podcast. Sorry, I told everybody not to look at their phones, but I have to look at mine so I can see a date. He is going to be on the podcast June the 2nd. And his statement about the Bible is God talks more about money
Yeah.
than anything else in the Bible. And money is not evil.
No, it's a tool.
It's a tool.
Money is just a measurement of value that you bring to the world.
Yes.
To other people.
So we're going to have him on June 2nd. And we're going to talk about, just like I do anybody, it's going to be, I'm going to ask questions that some people may think, well, I shouldn't ask that question. But in my belief, if it's in my head,
Right.
it's in someone else's head.
Right.
And so we're going to try to touch on entrepreneurs and money and how money and entrepreneurship work in the Bible.
Right.
So that's why I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a huge part of what I believe is the good life, is following the Word of God. So
Yeah. Well, it's all, so I can't remember which book I read it out of, but I don't think it was Zig Ziglar, maybe it's like Napoleon Hills or something like that. But the best way to cure poverty is to get rich, because if you
Amen.
If you go out and say I 10 times my income, well, that means I've brought 10 times the value to the world, to the marketplace. If I 10x my coffee business, that means that there's 10 times more cans need to be made, 10 times more labels, 10 times more cans have to be filled. So there's that whole chain of events that more people have jobs, the more successful that we become.
And just to be clear, because at the end of the podcast you'll hear me say it, this ain't bottled in China.
No.
This is not bottled in any other country other than the U.S. of A.
Right.
So it's important that, to me anyways, to do everything we can to have as much of anything we use made in the USA. And unfortunately, we've gotten away from that. And the only way we're going to get back to that is entrepreneurs like yourself to bring it back.
Yeah. 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 I remember 1994, the NAFTA and all that stuff went through, and wasn't a couple months and half of our fab shop disappeared and all that.
Yeah, it was pretty sad.
Yeah. Yep. But yet we survived. Here we are.
Yes. And the thing is for an entrepreneur to put his mind or her mind to something, whatever you're good at, right? You can be successful. The biggest thing that I can tell everybody is, and I say this a lot on the podcast, ultimately I ain't very smart.
Right.
If you've heard me talk, I'm not the smartest guy in the world.
Right.
But I know smart people. And I know smart people that have the same drive and desire that I do. Perfect example is Carson. Carson went to school, was in college for broadcast journalism. He didn't end up taking that route, but he was in there for it. And so now he is the smart guy.
Yeah.
He's running all the smart stuff behind the scene, and I'm doing the only thing I've ever done real well in my life is run my big mouth.
Right. Yeah.
So through these experiences that we have, we're able to grow and be entrepreneurs that exceed the expectations of other people.
Yeah.
So I have a vague memory, and I'm going to ask you a little bit about it. And I want you to, if you can, tell the story a little bit more detailed. So our friend, his past, he had I believe it was a Cutlass. Okay. And he was out, and I was with him, and he was driving around like crazy. And he said, I can do this now because Frank told me how to accelerate through the corners. So tell me what built up to you teaching him how to accelerate through the corners.
Oh,
because that's a funny story.
Yeah.
Because after you're done, I'm going to tell you where we were at when he told me that, and it's gonna make us all laugh. So growing up, my dad raced dirt track, in cars, stock cars, and so on.
I think I was 13 when I started racing dirt track myself. So it's just one of those deals, as kids, and a lot of times as people in general, we get an ounce of knowledge, and we think we got a pound of it, and so that's one thing that I've always just been, like you were saying, blessed with the level of ignorance to not know what I don't know. So if somebody asks me something, well, in my eyes, this is how I see it. This is how it needs to be done. So that's probably where it comes from.
Yeah, so apparently you guys were out driving at some point, and you told him how to do this. So do you remember when you had him out driving and how that went? Nuh-uh.
No,
So
that was 35 years ago.
yeah. So this was so funny to me at the time that it really stuck. So we were out somewhere, dirt road somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And he's like speeding through these corners and everything. And I'm like, what are you going to do? You're going to wreck. And he goes, no, Frank told me how to accelerate through these corners, blah, blah, blah. He slipped a tire off.
Yeah.
He was stuck.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so Frank told you how to get out of this situation too. So it was one of those things that I knew that, because we know the individual quite well.
Yeah.
That he sometimes, like you said, believed he could do more than maybe his skill level allowed him to do.
Yeah. Yep.
And so he thought he had it down, and there was a little more sand on that one little curve, and he went over and into the ditch, and that cutlass.
Right.
So light, it wasn't going to pull. So needless to say, we had to do some levering to get that back tire out of that ditch so he could get going again.
Right.
But to me, I still remember that because it was so funny that he was like, yeah, I've got this.
Yeah.
And I was like, why do you think you've got this? I've seen you drive. And he goes, Frank showed me how to accelerate through the corners. And I will give him this. 90% of the corners we went through, he did great.
Yeah.
It was that one,
Yeah.
that 10% of the corners that didn't quite pan out the way he thought it would.
Yeah.
So
that's funny, and that reminds me that as an entrepreneur, and really as people in general, we just don't give ourselves enough credit for the influence that we have on other people. So that's something that's been I've been conscious of for a while, but I still have a really big blind spot to it, even with the coffee or anything else.
Sorry.
So even with the coffee or anything else, it's been successful. I'm sure I don't even realize yet the level of success that it has, but also just the influence that, like, the way I say it a lot of times is that Frank Sell is not selling coffee. Frank Sell is selling inspiration and permission. People see what we're doing, and once they kind of realize that I'm not this genius, or maybe they see what we're doing, and it really inspires them, that gives them permission to go out and do it too. So you just, some of the things that and it goes back to the phrase of just show up in life, and understand that God is our supply, everything's already created, and try to be present and have gratitude and pay attention to what's in front of you and what's around you, because it always shows up in the patterns and just little idiosyncrasies that we think are I can't think of the damn word, but yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. The big thing that the one thing you said that I'm going to jump on, and it's with all respect. Mm-hmm. So when we're an entrepreneur, mm-hmm. And when we're going for something, mm-hmm. and we said a little bit about this before. So I can't tell you how many people told me I couldn't shoot all the way through school. You know, I've had people tell me that, you know, you're not going to amount to much of anything, you know.
Yeah.
You're look at what you've done, look at your grades, look at this, look at that. One of the biggest things that really had an impact on me is as soon as I stopped looking for permission. And I realized that I'm going to live my life the way it's been dictated to me to live through the belief system I have, right? And I'm not talking about the belief system that's pounded into our heads. It's the belief system deep down inside, right? That you know's right. As soon as I stopped listening to everybody, I finally realized that, you know, I can do whatever I feel to do. All I've got to do is set up the right platform or the right foundation to achieve that. Right. And the biggest thing you touched on that I have to respect, and I've got a really good analogy, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to destroy the analogy. But so you said, you know, between you and I, we're going to say that we're not the brightest two peas in the pod.
No PhDs,
right?
No degrees.
Nothing that's going to say that we're smart, right? But we know smart people, and we know how to communicate with people and to create partnerships and good teams, right?
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, a lot of the people that we know that are smart, that are part of our teams, can't communicate like we do.
Right.
Can't drive and be motivated like we are. So one of the things here comes the analogy. So if you take a fish and tell it to climb a tree, it's going to fail.
Yeah.
If you take a monkey, throw it in a raging river and tell it to swim and survive, it's going to fail.
Right.
But if you switch those roles, they're quite successful.
Right.
So that is the thing that people need to think about when you're looking at being an entrepreneur. What am I passionate about? Number one.
Yep.
Number two, what am I good at?
Right.
And believe it or not, it takes all kinds to make a business successful.
Oh, yeah.
From the people that you don't see, you don't hear on the podcast, like Carson, my wife, all the people. I know you've got a wonderful young lady behind you. She supports you in every way.
Oh, yeah.
But she's not the forefront of your business. You are.
Right.
But without her and her support, it becomes a lot more difficult.
Yeah, because I've had that. I've had the total opposite of that, and you know that's one of the reasons and so on. You know that I appreciate that support and that love so much. You know, because I've been in situations where that wasn't the case.
Oh yeah, I fully 100% understand.
Yeah,
and I've been there. I'll touch on. I'm going to skim over this real quick. So my wife and I married after we had kids. We were obviously pre-married by in different situations. They didn't work out, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So she left a relationship where the individual does not necessarily work as much as the opportunities opened up for him. And then she meets me, and I'm this workaholic almost.
Can't sit still.
And I can't sit still. I've got, in her opinion, I have adult ADHD. I'm jumping from one thing to the other. We own our two businesses. I manage another business, and I have my full-time job, and she has her full-time job, and she helps with everything we do.
Right.
And 100%, I'm more the mouth or the showcase of the things that we do.
Yeah.
And she's the backbone.
Right.
and I couldn't do any of it without her. So that's the message I'm trying to get across to entrepreneurs is maybe the shoe's on the other foot where you're a man entrepreneur and your wife is the outspoken person. And she could be the forefront of the company while you're doing all the labor intensive things.
Right.
Or you're a woman that is outspoken and you can get your husband to do the labor intensive stuff, to be entrepreneurs together to grow a company and to support each other, or just to be there to support.
Yeah, and I think it comes with, for me, it's been at least a decade of learning myself. So learning like the DISC profiles or the Enneagram profiles, and understanding how we're driven and how people are driven around us. Like a great example is my daughter, my oldest. She's like me. She's a high D, dominant. Doesn't matter whose feelings get hurt. We're getting shit done.
Yep.
Make stuff happen. Outgoing, people oriented, but at the same time we're driven. So like my daughter, for the longest time, going to the grocery store and stuff, it was kind of frustrating and so on. But eventually we learned that we could make her in charge of the grocery list, because she kind of wanted to take charge anyway. So we could hand her the grocery list before we ever left the house. It would not get lost because she was in charge of it. Get to the grocery store, she would grab a cart and she was ready to go, because that fed her personality. Now my son, he is totally laid back, reserved, doesn't like confrontation. So the sooner we can get done and relax, that's how you promote to him. Not that we're going to knock down brick walls and get so it's learning yourself and then learning how that personality and that type interacts with other people. So not so that you can manipulate people, but so you can communicate, like you're saying, easier, communicate better to people, promote to people in a way that they want to be promoted to just make life easier and make it work better.
Yeah. I will take your phrase manipulate that you used. There's going to be a lot of people that disagree with my next statement. So manipulation is a positive. Let me cover what I mean by that. It can be a negative.
Right.
Okay. But if you really think about the things that we do, we're manipulating people all the time, regardless how we move forward. Perfect. And let me expound on this a minute. It's going to take a little bit for me to get to the point. So when you put "get shit done" on a coffee can, there is a level of manipulation that happens with this. And the manipulation isn't a negative manipulation. It is a manipulation of empowerment. Okay?
Yeah.
And so the reason I want to touch on manipulation is I had a long talk with some people not too long ago, and I was saying manipulation isn't bad if it's used in a positive way. So I work with a lot of volunteers. And you can't tell a volunteer, go do this.
Yeah.
So you have to encourage, guide, or manipulate that person
Right.
to be self-driven to achieve the goals. So manipulation in itself is a good thing if it's done right.
Right. With the good intentions, just like our
With
kids.
a good intention, yes.
Manipulate our kids to believe in themselves, believe they can do it until they can believe it themselves.
Yes. So that's, and I know I kind of jumped on some kind of weird sidetrack, but the thing is when people use the word manipulation, they automatically assume that's a negative thing.
Yeah.
But manipulation can be a very, very positive thing. It also can be a very negative thing.
Right.
So it all depends on its context in which it's used. And we as entrepreneurs, every entrepreneur in my opinion, and please correct me if you disagree, should be manipulating their client base in a positive direction.
Yeah, so something I like to do. I want to step away just real quick here. So like on my phone, I have a dictionary, and so a lot of times, like in these conversations and so on, I'll go back and I will look up a word just so that I can I figure out how to spell manipulate. So to treat or operate with or as if with the hands or mechanical means. So that means physically manipulate. To manage or utilize skillfully. Or to change by artful or unfair means so as to serve one's purpose. So there again,
Yes.
one of the definitions is to use it in a positive way or negative. It's just whatever the intention is behind it.
Yes, 100%. And I'm glad you pulled that out because I'll be honest, me and dictionaries, we don't get along.
All right.
But I'm glad you pulled that out because that really emphasizes the point that an entrepreneur truly is or needs a level of manipulation in everything they do.
Yeah.
Because if you are just sitting idle and you're not trying to manipulate your circumstance, you're not going to get anywhere.
Right. Right.
And it's just like you're talking about going to these 1,000 cup meetings. You're going to maybe get manipulated yourself in a positive direction.
Yeah. Absolutely.
To find inspiration to move forward in whatever direction is correct for you at that time.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
So we have not covered, we've talked about you went from being a welder to starting Hell Dent Repair. So tell me a little bit more in detail about your Hell Dent Repair company, because I know you have a shop in South Hutchinson, Kansas.
Yep.
And if people are in Hutch, I believe they can order your coffee and pick it up there too, right?
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about what all you guys do with your Hell Dent Repair company and kind of where it's at. And if someone has hail damage, I think they can come to you directly. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that company.
So we have, like you're talking about, is what is the retail side of the business, and then there's also the subcontractor kind of like wholesale side. So what I did is in the beginning I did a lot of work for car dealerships, car lots, and so on, and that's really the lower end of the wholesale side of business. And so through that, I learned that working for insurance companies or working for damage that was being paid for by insurance companies, not necessarily for insurance companies. So I learned that working through body shops and so on, building a network of shops that I subcontract to. So basically, I'm working off of their clientele, their customers, so on. Like some of the majority of the time, people don't even know that I'm doing it, outside of the body shop, or that the body shop's not performing the work themselves. So we've built up here in Kansas a network of about 15 body shops that exclusively use me or the guys that I have help us for the repairs. And then most recently, I've gotten into training people to do what I do, because I've been doing it for 20 years now. I've been fairly successful at it. And so it goes back to a book, Acres of Diamonds by Russell Conwell, but that kind of talks about, the premise of that book is like, what are you doing that you have not, exploited or explored all the areas that you can also create revenue in. So teaching people how to do what I do, that's something else I can make money doing the same thing. I started a new website called localhailrepair.com. So that's something that I see. It's not location specific. So with that, it's something else that I could generate leads. So like if we're in, central Kansas, but say there's a storm in Dallas, Texas, I could take and direct that website, localhailrepair.com/Dallas, and create a lead generation website to where we could market that area. And I could either sell those leads to a shop that's down there, or have like a certified shop network where we could place guys in there, or I could go set up my own retail location in that town, and we would have a funnel of customers, of leads coming in. So it's kind of within that business, trying to find more things within that business that I can trade, a fair value for more income.
You know what? This is one of the things that really inspires me when I talk to you, and I think the entrepreneurs should pay attention. And if they're this little nugget of gold that you just dropped, really should inspire a lot of people, because what you're doing is you're taking a hands-on skill set that you learned yourself via $100 VHS tape 20 some years ago.
Yeah, 10,000 hours.
And 10,000 hours. You've taken this. Now, you create this network of people you've trained, and then you create a website, local dent repair, and then all you've got to do is throw something, the city, right?
Yeah.
Hashtag / whatever it is, the city that just had a big storm go through. And then you could possibly sell all the contacts you come up with to local places, cash flow in pocket, or send your network of people down to do the dent repair, cash flow in pocket, and ultimately all you're doing is running a website.
Yeah, and then we can also expand it to, commercial properties, houses, whatever else also.
So you could do roofers, contractors,
gutters, all of it.
Gutters, all kinds of stuff. So you have created the opportunity. So you're managing a website and creating revenue for yourself. Now, keep in mind, we all understand it's not the same level of revenue as if you were doing the work yourself, right?
Possibly. I don't know yet.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
So, but there's this, what you're doing is you're thinking outside of the proverbial box. Instead of saying, okay, there was a storm in Dallas, I need to head down there and do the work. You're thinking there's a storm in Dallas, let's create this website that draws people to it, and then I can serve and help others in the area, or send people down and still draw revenue in my pocket without me ever having to go to Dallas.
Yeah, I can connect people looking to get their cars fixed with a reliable vendor to fix them, so that kind of takes some of the guesswork out of, we've all, here in the Midwest, we've seen like the tents or the temporary places pop up. So this is a way that I can utilize my network, like you're saying, scratch the customer's back and scratch, the vendor's back, so that they can get, more business, and that has a value.
And ultimately, the customer gets a better quality deal by going through your website, because you're not going to go to the fly-by-night group.
Right, correct.
You're going to have the groups that are actually certified and qualified to do the work.
Right. There's a safety net of accountability there as well.
Yeah. And my understanding is a lot of these newer cars, this is completely talking stupid. I heard this conversation talking to somebody else, so if I'm way off base, tell me. So there, with these newer vehicles, I was told by an individual that if the hail is so bad, something, it could set off certain sensors and damage certain sensors. And then not everybody understands, after you replace the sensor, there's a calibration level to those sensors that you have to do. And these fly-by-night places might replace the sensor, but they may not calibrate it. And a lot of these sensors I'm talking about are the proximity sensors in these newer vehicles where they're driving up, and these proximity sensors will slow the vehicle down so you don't rear end them.
Right.
And unfortunately, in our day, if you didn't slow down, you hit somebody.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
But today, people are becoming reliant upon these sensors to slow them down. So you'll be ensuring that people go to certified places that know how to calibrate these sensors so that they don't end up in a wreck.
Right.
They don't do this, but those fly-by-night places may or may not have the ability to calibrate those sensors. Is that a factual conversation?
Yeah. So I mean, mostly, I'm sure there's guys that do that work out of the tents and so on. And the reason why I say that is because you can charge for it. The insurance companies have a set, a fee schedule for recalibration and so on. So a lot of guys will go out and buy the equipment to do that. But especially if we're working with a network of, like I said, brick and mortar people that are going to be there, before, during, and after the storm.
Yeah.
Then most definitely, those folks want to, have the highest quality of repair and avoid the comeback scenarios, avoid, somebody getting hurt scenarios.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that we definitely want to do.
So, when you and I grew up, and this is something that I want to, what I'm trying to do, I'm headed down the path of growth, okay, mental growth, and changing with the times. So when you and I grew up, did you have a cell phone in high school?
Oh no.
Oh no. Did you have? So when did you get how old were you when you got your first cell phone?
I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
I remember the internet come out.
Yeah. I remember the internet coming out too. So you remember dial-up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So we didn't have smartphones. The best computer we'd ever seen was at the school.
Yeah.
And it was slower than our smartphones.
Yeah. I remember being just freaked out when we were younger, answering the phone and hear the fax screech.
Yes.
It's like, what is that?
Or you make a phone call and it goes. Yeah. That's hilarious because today nobody ever uses fax. Right. Or very, 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 very few.
Yeah.
So where I'm headed with this is you and I were brought up in a generation that some of us, when we were real young, even had party lines still.
Yeah.
But we definitely had the rotary dial phone.
Oh, yeah.
Then we went to the push button phone. We had the black and white TV. We went to the color TV.
Had to get up, change channel.
Yeah, we had to get up. There was no remote. Matter of fact, get up, change channel might have been your dad's shoe bouncing off the back of your head. So our generation has been given a fantastic learning experience to be able to know what it was like because we were raised by baby boomers.
Yeah.
And they were raised by after the people coming back from war, because that's the baby boomers were the babies after World War II. And so we were raised by those, and we had grandparents that understood the Depression and how to save money and all that. And then we are the generation that got to grow through all the technology changes. And I think people should really, for people like yourself, they should be really impressed, in my opinion, and really pay attention that you didn't sit back and stay stagnant in your belief system.
Right.
And you kept changing with the times. And you learned with the times, and you learned the internet. You learned where I'm going with this is a lot of people, and I've run into them, are so stuck in their ways, they're not willing to learn something new.
Mm-hmm.
And so you learn something new, and now you're creating this platform, internet presence
Right.
that gives you the opportunity to network nationally
Uh-huh.
through your local damage. Say
Yeah.
that again.
Local hail repair.
Local hail repair website.
Uh-huh.
You're growing with this to maximize your opportunities instead of just sitting back and not following and learning with the times.
Yeah, or instead of trying to look outside of what I'm already doing for more opportunities when there's plenty of opportunity with what I'm already doing.
Yes. So you can stay busy every day, nonstop, just doing what you're doing
Yeah.
between the coffee business, the hail dent repair business, your motocross racing, and your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
You're looking to expand. And as entrepreneurs, if we're not looking for that next step, we're going to fall behind. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, momentum doesn't stay stagnant. It's either moving forward or it's working for you or against you.
Yes.
It's never neutral.
Yes, 100%. And that is one of the big things that I saw a clip. It's been a while, so it's kind of vague, with you speaking at a place. And it might have been that 1,000 Cups seminar. But I saw you giving a motivational speech about that. And that's the other thing that entrepreneurs should really do is reach out and look for some of those motivational speakers
Yeah.
that are entrepreneurs, not just a motivational speaker, right?
right.
Because there is a difference. And go to some of these 1,000 Cup seminars, these networking seminar or meetings, or
Right.
how would you phrase that?
Just place yourself in an environment of growth and some positivity, especially with people that have fruit on the tree, results in the areas that you want to grow in.
Yeah. And would you say this is a true fact? So it is best to surround yourself with positive people that have the same drive and input that you do, and not negative people that want to beat you down?
To a degree, yeah, you want to, as best you can, but really you want to develop the discernment. So that's something that through, like you're saying, the personal development and so on, I come up with the movement. I haven't done much with it for a couple of years because I really had to question who I was and so on, but it's called Armored Up Man, and the foundation of that is whose thinking are you thinking. So that's going through, and like you're saying, it's like some of us who grew up around negative relatives or negative environments and so on, but eventually we have to take responsibility.
Yes.
We can't make the excuse, oh, everybody around me is negative. Well, you are the one that is in control of what gets to your heart, and so it's that discernment, is it Ephesians 6:13-10 of the armor of God and all that. Like, it's your responsibility to develop that discernment so that if you are placed in a negative environment, that you can still function, operate to your best. With that being said, you should try to place yourself in environments that are, it's like the circle of five. Your success will be determined by the 5 people you spend the most time around. So you want to try and protect your environment, protect your energy, your soul from the negativity, but at the same time, you want to develop that armor to be able to withstand some bullshit every now and then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so no matter what we do, no matter how diligent we are about our surroundings, especially with social media and things like that, there is always going to be the naysayer, the negative Nancy, however you want to put it, that wants to rain on your parade. And the biggest thing that this is a phrase that I've kind of, and I probably should put this on some things. The only way someone's comment will ever matter to you, or if someone's saying something to you is if
Yeah.
you care.
Yeah.
If you don't care what they have to say,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what you're doing and the path you're taking
Mm-hmm.
is the path you need to be on, and you're driven to that path,
Uh-huh.
no matter what anyone else has to say, shouldn't faze you. Now, there is a difference between taking advice to promote
Mm-hmm.
yourself
Yeah.
and just listen to the negative. So, because especially if you go out in social media today, you're going to run into, depending on the circle
Mm-hmm.
that you have,
Yeah.
and depending on who squeezes into the ability to see your stuff, you could very easily run into just as many negative people as you do positive people.
Yeah.
And if you let the negative drive your thought process,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to struggle. But if you focus on yours and just say, well, that person's just, I know where I'm headed,
Yeah.
and I know what I'm doing,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to let them intimidate me just because.
Yeah.
You're going to be a lot more successful in life, especially as an entrepreneur, because failure, in my opinion, is just an opportunity to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I was saying, like, taking the personal responsibility. So the couple of things that you said there, there's like the negativity and the naysayers and so on. So like, number one, do they have the results in the area that I want to grow?
Yes.
So we don't have to attend every argument that we're invited to,
Amen.
so on. And also, it's like the book Stephen Covey and the 7 Habits, like he talks about this, that a lot of times we feel like our family are being negative to us. And so there again, it goes back to the discernment of being able to understand, okay, maybe this person, they're not trying to be negative. Maybe they love me. Their intentions are to try and avoid pain. I understand. Thank you. I appreciate that. You don't have results on the tree. You don't have to say this to them. But
Yeah.
your discernment and your wisdom is, okay, so they're just trying to protect me. Man, I appreciate that. I'll take that in consideration. I'll think about it. I'll ask somebody, and just keep moving.
Yeah. I've unfortunately in my life taken a much harder road. And you know me well.
Uh-huh.
The hard road seems to be the path I blaze down.
Yeah.
I take the hard road of if you don't believe in me,
Yeah.
and you're not going to support me,
Right.
I understand. Get out of my way.
Yeah.
Because this is the direction I'm going. And I've burnt some pretty significant bridges doing that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can tell you this, some of the people that were trying to guide me, if I listened to them,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be where I am today.
Right.
If I wouldn't have shed some pretty significant negative influences in my life,
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't be able to sit and have the podcast.
Yeah.
I stand up every year in front of 500 people and run a very successful banquet every year.
Yeah.
And people ask me, how can you stand up in front of all those people and be able to talk to them? And it's because I don't care what they think about me.
Yeah.
I'm respectful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not rude. I'm not hateful, but I'm who I am.
Right.
And I believe I'm a successful individual. Am I where I want to be?
Right.
I don't think very many entrepreneurs will come out and say, yes, I'm exactly where I want to be.
Right.
I always have a little bit more that I could achieve.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you have to be able to discern, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
are they, yes, they're trying to protect me, or are they not? And family, in a lot of cases, really tries to protect us.
Yeah.
But the best thing you said there that I really have to appreciate is your statement is there fruit on the tree?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so many of our families that there's no fruit on the tree.
Right.
And they want to put us in this little shelter and
Right.
and protect us from hurtful feelings. But the world isn't filled of kindness and love and caring
Yeah.
in most cases.
Right.
There are cases of kindness, loving, and caring. So people don't think I'm being completely negative, because I'm really not. What I'm trying to do is prepare everybody to understand that you have to stand up for you.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I will say is, if you put Jesus Christ behind you and you stand up for that,
Mm-hmm.
and you hold true to that,
Yeah.
I guarantee everything else will come through.
Oh yeah.
But you've got to focus on what you're driven to do, because I truly believe,
Mm-hmm.
that what you're driven to do
Mm-hmm.
was designed for you to do.
Right. Yep.
And just keep pushing forward.
Yeah. Yep. I agree 100%.
But I'm also kind of like a bulldog. I get a hold of something, I don't let go. I've failed more in life than I've succeeded.
Yeah.
That's one thing an entrepreneur needs to understand.
Yeah.
You're going to fail a lot.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Yep.
It's challenging, but we are really close to the 2-hour mark, and that's kind of where I try to cut these off. I would say that one very important thing is check out Frank Sale on Facebook, check out Hustle, check out Get Shit Done. Frank, I'm going to give you one last hoorah. Say anything you want to say. Share anything you want to share about your businesses or anything that comes to mind real quick.
Mm-hmm.
The mic's all yours, brother.
Yeah. So it goes back to what we were saying earlier, that, Frank Sell isn't necessarily selling coffee, selling the inspiration and permission, and just, Steven and I were a couple of great examples of knuckleheads that just going out and doing it scared until we do it skilled. And, something with the brand we didn't touch on, but every can of coffee that is sold has Galatians 5:1, and that's a verse that says, "It's for freedom's sake that Christ set you free. Therefore, you do not let yourself be burdened again by a yoke of slavery." And so the war's already won. There's still battles to be fought, and most of those are within ourselves. And the freedom is there. We just need to take action and get shit done.
Amen. 100%. One more thing, cover your website one more time for me. And if people want to reach to you via
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, Instagram, anything like that, shout that out. What I'm trying to do is give you the opportunity to make a few more connections if possible.
Yeah, so anywhere home of the hustle, that'll be a trail that leads back to our coffee and to our brand, or Frank Sell, SELL, anywhere on social media. You can contact me through there, DM, whatever, on homeofthehustle.com. There's contact information, or chat boxes come right to my phone.
Say all that one more time. Hold on. One more time, real quick.
Yeah, so anywhere you can, on social media, you can type in Home of the Hustle, and that'll lead back to all of our pages and so on, or you'll be able to obviously see the Get Shit Done and find us there, or Frank Sell, SELL. I'm pretty sure I'll be the first one or two that comes up on that.
This last part, you're going to get to cut the shit out of. But the good thing is, he's so good at this.
Yeah.
He'll blend it. It won't even look like we had
Yeah.
there was anything go wrong. So they can reach you at Frank Sell, almost any platform.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to see what you're doing. One of the things I would say is Frank really does do some pretty good motivational speaking for entrepreneurs. If you're interested in him giving some kind of motivational speech at one of your entrepreneur meetings or networking opportunities, I'm pretty sure you can reach out to him. You guys can talk and make some kind of arrangement to get some of that done. I've heard Frank speak. It's quite good. It is quite motivational. He is, despite what he might think, he is not the knucklehead that he believes. He's quite an intelligent individual. He's had a very interesting life, and he is a very good man. So thank you guys all for listening. I'm going to end the podcast like I always end it. Buy local, buy American made. When you can buy local and buy American made and use American made and local services, you are supporting the mom and dad to send their son or daughter to their sporting activities or the activities that they're going to need, instead of supporting some CEO in some other location. Ultimately, as long as we buy American made, not China made, not any other country made, we're going to be able to promote our country and grow our country to being the way it was. And as Frank would put it, let's make America grind again. Thank you guys, and looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye.